Good morrow to you all. You have fallen on barred times.
Brought to you by RHUL Shakespeare Society.
You've joined me, Cassie Dixon.
And me, Jack Hardman, as we bear some bardy truths. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Barred Times. This is Jack Hardman, and today I have with me the wonderful Lolly. Say hi, Lolly.
Hi. Hi.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, no worries. So obviously today you are, I say obviously, the viewers don't know. You are here to talk about the fact that you have just started a new society.
Yes, I am.
So that is obviously a massive commitment, and I just wanted to ask you, so how's it going so far for you?
How's it going?
How are you enjoying it?
Whew. It's a big question, but I'm gonna dissect it, go through it. Well, you know what? It's actually going pretty well considering we're in a pandemic. I'm really humbled by all of the outreach and support that we've gotten for MPA. And I feel like we've created a really amazing community as well. Like in the group chat, we all just have a little chat with each other, and people send like their makeup looks or their art into the chat, and everyone's like, wow, this is so great. I think it's going really well. I have an amazing team. I could not do it without them. And yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for the people at home who don't necessarily know what MPA is or stands for, would you give them like a quick rundown of what your society is?
Of course. I know it can be a little bit confusing as well, how we are performing arts society, but I'm going to run it down for you, so don't worry. So we're MPA, that stands for Makeup, Performance and Artistry. Now, obviously, makeup is a big part of our society, but we're not limited to just a makeup box. Under the artistry umbrella, I really wanted to have the artistry like kind of word there. It can kind of, facilitate any type of art that our members want to do. Yeah. If you want to do action painting, like please do it. If you want to do henna, one of our members is going to run a henna workshop actually in the future, which I'm really excited about.
That's amazing.
If you want to do physical theatre, if you want to do nail art, we can facilitate it and help you. As long as you come on with an idea, we can help you create that to be a reality. And I'm going to go through the three main facets of MPA. That all good?
Yeah, sounds great. Go for it.
Okay, cool. So obviously, you know about socials if you've been to socials in Shakespeare. Like, they're a lot like that.
Please come to really socials in Shakespeare.
Yes. I'll be there. I'm a very avid goer of Shakespeare stuff. They're really fun. You're doing an amazing job, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Of course. So the three main pillars. Okay, so we've got performing, which is like exhibitions, and I'll explain more about that later because that's a bit more like, well, how does that work, Lolly? But first of all, we're going to go over the most obvious ones.
Yeah.
Okay. So tutorials. Obviously, that's going to come with the Makeup Society. So tutorials we do from beginner all the way up to advanced. It's literally, there's something for everybody. For example, one of the first tutorials I did was finding your skin undertones and your skin texture and figuring out what makeup to use to make sure that your base is all good and everything. So if you don't know what like a base is, it's kind of like, putting on a blank sheet like on your face so your makeup can kind of go on top. And you know how you have like discoloration under your skin and everything, like redness and stuff like that? You're just cancelling that out. So you have a blank canvas to work on, baby. It's great.
By the way, you are going to have to explain everything to me because I am very much not equipped with any knowledge of how makeup works at all.
No problem. And you know what? If you don't have any knowledge too, viewers, that's okay too. Doesn't matter.
That's great.
Yeah,
that's great. Like, come along.
Honestly,
learn
please.
something.
Period. Like honestly, there's I really want more people to kind of come who don't know what's going on because it doesn't bloody matter. If you think, hey, that's pretty cool, come on. And if you're scared, you can always talk to me or our social secretary, Aurelia Gross. Honestly, we will welcome you with open arms. But sorry, anyway.
that is my plan for next term. I say next term, the current term, to come to more kind of MPA things.
Oh please.
So that I can learn a little bit about makeup.
Yeah, totally. And just
But also,
we do.
so when my girlfriend talks to me about it, I'm not completely just like a blank slate,
Of
for
course.
myself
Well,
and for her.
yeah. And that's a lovely thing to do for your girlfriend. Like what a wonderful thing. Shout out to Miss Eve. We love you. And
Yes, we do.
but yeah, so you can come and learn a lot more things as well, but I'll talk about that later. I have so much to talk about. So yeah, so we go from all the way from beginner to like more advanced stuff. For example, I'm doing a tutorial on surrealism makeup, which is more artistic, and it's almost like you're a painting kind of thing. And I also tell you about, if you're like, well, I don't have the resources to use that, I also teach you how to make DIY face paint and everything like that, so anybody can do it. It's accessible to anybody. And by the way, if you have an idea for a tutorial, come to me, we'll figure it out, and you can put something on. You don't have to be the best at something to do it. If you've got something to say it, like it could be anything. Okay, so that's tutorials, the most obvious one. The next one is lectures. Hey Lolly, why the hell is a makeup society doing lectures? And to that I say nay, we are not just makeup, we are more than that. We are.
I love this because this is like having I don't need to be here. You could just interview yourself. This is making my job very easy. Sorry, go on.
No. No, please don't be sorry. I don't want to like.
No. I'm loving it. Go. Continue.
Cool. It's just I'm very passionate, as you can probably tell. I'm like very, very passionate. All right, lectures. When the lectures hit. Okay, so right. I think lectures are really important in the idea of knowing, because the thing is, right, how can we correct behavior from the past if we don't have the knowledge equipped to kind of go forward and to combat these issues, even with just knowing history of makeup and knowing history of kind of fashion and why things happened the way they did. It's really interesting. For example, the first lecture I ran was masculinity in makeup, and I dissected why makeup became an inherently feminine thing and why men decided that it was bad for them to use makeup. I dissected that in detail, and it's actually like the root of like patriarchal kind of things. Men used to wear like war paint and stuff like that, and basically it became quote unquote effeminate because women started to use it also to kind of cover up their blemishes as societal kind of pressure was piled upon them. It kind of went through time and became something more feminine, and the patriarchy deems anything as feminine as rather weak. So that men just stopped using it, and it also became kind of like a queer thing as well. And if you're a guy who wears makeup, then you're queer, when in reality it's just not bloody true, is it? It's not bloody true. And I would honestly love to see more like men within my society who just want to like heck around and have fun,
Nice.
Yeah. But
fair play.
that's lectures. And
no, that sounds really interesting.
In the future, hopefully, I want to do the importance of shade range in foundation. I just think we are baddies with brains. We're not just some people who are just going to sit around and just be like, okay, this is all right. We are intelligent. We are university students. We're going to bring in our critical thinking. An upcoming lecture includes a woman who used makeup to kill abusive husbands, so they could
great. Excellent.
It's so amazing.
That does actually sound fascinating.
It's really fascinating. It's going to be run by Karen, who's so amazing and so intelligent.
And has also killed multiple people with makeup.
Yeah, of course she has. It's not her fault. She
allegedly. Allegedly. We don't want to be sued.
All right, wink, wink. Yeah, so come along to that, because again, it's not just all about, okay, you put the makeup on your face, or the lecture is about makeup. It's about so many things. Yeah, so that's lectures, just wrapped up neatly in a bow, and what's going on with that. And we've also got exhibitions. Now, this is the more performative part of the society, because when we first kind of, presented ourselves as a society, a lot of people questioned how we were a performing arts society. And listen, there's nothing against that. I completely understand how is a makeup society like a performing society. Well, to that I say, makeup itself is inherently performative. I mean, think about like a special effects wound. Think of the dramatics of that. How did that person get it? How did he graze his knee? Did he chop himself in the leg by accident with a knife? Did he run into a knife?
Did he run into a knife?
Yeah. did he
Nice.
do some running?
Nice.
But yeah, like there is a certain dramatic element of all types of makeup. Even the dramatics of, in my opinion, of putting on everyday makeup, it's a routine that you do. It's almost ritual. Every single day you're putting it on and you're doing the same thing, the same swoops. I don't know. Especially with doing some of my modules on theatricality and the spectrum of theatricality, it's really kind of opened my perception of what can be deemed as theatrical and what cannot. Not everything is a performance, but there are performative elements to almost everything we do.
I mean, I would also argue that performing arts isn't necessarily, it's about performing, not about performance. Like there are more aspects to performing arts than just acting or directing. There's also lighting, as any DSM would tell you. There's audio, there's makeup, there's costume, there's like there's so many facets to performing. And to say that makeup, which is such a core tenet of any form of performance, is not that, then it's lies. It's complete lies.
I completely agree with you. And whilst it might not be seen as inherently a performance, it is performative. It holds those qualities. So there's a clear difference between that. But I would also argue it can be a performance, because that's what I'm a practitioner. Like, don't worry about it. But like, I don't want to sound like pretentious, but
sure.
I consider myself.
Finish what you're saying.
No, I'm sorry. I don't want to be pretentious, but basically, I like to merge. This is where the idea of MPA actually came from, and we can talk about it more later. But basically, I work primarily with movement and like a merge of physical theatre and dance, because I come from like a dance background and I've been trained and stuff in that. And I really like the freeness of like physical theatre, like frantic assembly, like Burkoff, all the kind of embodiments of physicality, and Rudolf Laban as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And I kind of like wanted to merge that with what I could do. I'm just kind of basically, it's a conglomerate of bringing everything I can to the table and just mashing it together.
Yeah.
So makeup becomes a key part of my performance.
I mean, looking at something like, and I don't pretend to be any kind of a
no, you're fine.
Any kind of what's the word, expert on this subject at all. I'm really very much not. But like, look at like drag, which is a big has become, I mean, it has always been a thing, but has become especially big recently.
Yes.
That is literally a combination of, I mean, many other things, but like dance and makeup. Like that's so those two things. And obviously there are many other instances, but that's just one that came to my head. I'm trying to be very careful here because I do not know what I'm talking about.
No, it's okay.
So this is like basic, like, to say those two things aren't linked is wrong, is what I'm saying, essentially.
Yeah, no, I get it.
Not that we need to justify the existence of MPA, because
I think not.
But yeah, I completely agree. It is, from the way you've described it, it sounds like you have justified very well why it is a performing arts society, I think.
Yeah, but it's not like I have to justify it, but I understand that people can be a bit confused because it can be a bit weird, which is why on our like if you want to read more about it, on our SU page we have a whole page of what we do, and I'll just kind of go through this very, very quickly as well. So with that knowledge, I think that makeup is art, so we should have two types of exhibition: performative exhibitions, which is what, like, the kind of things that I've just said, using makeup as kind of an extension of the art that you're doing, or just anything you can think of, or even if you're doing like henna or it falls under the artistry umbrella. It's on a spectrum. And then there's stationary exhibitions. So this is like basically taking pictures of the makeup that you've done, hanging it up, having a description of why you made the choices that you did, maybe having a live modeling. So it's basically almost like an art gallery experience with makeup. So that's kind of exhibitions.
Fair. Yeah, that sounds makes sense. Sounds good. Okay, so this obviously we spoke about it a little bit already, but what exactly made you like decide to create this society? Because obviously you said it's like a fusion of your passions and the things that you enjoy and you've been trained in. But was there something specifically that made you want to create this society?
Yeah, there was actually. I felt very, very lost. It was a feeling of loss, and I've always been someone who has felt very adrift, and like I never had a place, like always quite lonely. And this is quite sad, but like quite lonely and adrift.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, like, and I had like I went to a society and it kind of wasn't for me as well in my first year, and then my second year, like this was in the middle of my second year before I kind of did a show, but I was kind of like, right, well, I feel terrible and suffering with my mental health, and I was like, well, why don't I just make a place for myself then? And it kind of clicked in my head, and I started to form a team. I started to write up a constitution. I started to write up everything, and sadly, because I was struggling with my mental health, it kind of fell through. But then I joined Shakespeare Committee. I saw how everything worked and how everything was going down. I did leave because of other issues, but I love Shakespeare, as you can tell.
Yeah. Well, for those of you that don't know, obviously, Lolly was my predecessor as social sec for Shakespeare.
Yes. And oh my God, Jack is doing an amazing job.
Oh, stop!
Bloody hell!
Stop.
No,
stop
no.
That. But yeah.
But yeah, apologies.
No.
So basically, in lockdown, I used the knowledge that I had looking at meetings and everything and how things have run, and I got my president hat on and I rolled with it, and it's just been amazing. I wanted to create a place. I know this sounds really cliche, but I wanted to create a place where people could express themselves without elitism in the performing arts, because I think that's a big issue.
Yeah.
There's a lot of elitism and, we can only have the cream of the crop, the best of the best, or this and that. It's like, well, how can people get to that level if you don't help them and guide them?
Yeah, it is one of the difficult kind of dichotomies that any performance-based anything faces, which is you want the best people for the performance, but if you only choose the best people, then how do people learn?
Exactly.
It is something that all like schools have the same thing. Like if you choose the best people for a school play, then you're not necessarily going to be doing the thing that your institution is literally designed to do, which is teach the people who don't know so much about that subject yet. And it's what I think, speaking for Shakespeare, and I'm sure a lot of other societies on campus are trying to do, is try and broaden out that the education side of our societies and opening up more opportunities for people. But that being said, it's amazing that is something that MPA also wants to do.
Thank you. We I think as well with like the shadow programs and everything that a lot of performing arts societies are offering, it goes a long way, and it can teach people, and also they don't have the full responsibility of that role on their shoulders. They can learn how to do it. I think that's a really great way to approach it. But with like not that ours is like our way is better or anything like that. I never would want to say that, but it's just a different way, because we have commissions of people's pieces and they commission what they want to do. They tell us and then we'll help them. That's why I have the role of exhibition director. They're there to help you and to further your ideas and, to take them to a better level or the next level, Yeah.
This actually, this does sound really interesting. Actually, I'm already thinking of things that I would want to do with your society.
Oh my God, yes.
That being said, so obviously you have there are a lot of challenges involved in getting to where you guys currently are, which is
totally.
a full society with a full committee and events lined up and stuff that is structured. And I wanted to ask you, firstly, if there are any kind of what kind of unseen challenges there are in doing that, but also, is there any advice that you would give to someone who is currently also trying to do that same thing that you've done and craft a
Yeah.
place for themselves or create something?
I will say this: you can do it. Like I didn't think I could do it because of I suffer with quite a few mental illnesses and health conditions, and I really thought I couldn't do it. But the thing is, like, I will give this piece of advice: you can do it. If you have a good team behind you, if you have people who will believe you, if you are honest, and if you are hardworking and just keep at it and you are determined, yes, you can do it. I promise you can do it. And if anybody does ever want to like talk to me about how I did it and wants more information, I'm Lolly Hayes on Facebook, or you can talk to the MPA page. Please, I'm always happy to help. But saying that, yes, there are several challenges in creating a society. Writing up a constitution takes a long time.
I can imagine.
Takes a long. Like, I wrote that by myself with the SU template.
For people at home who don't know what a constitution does, it kind of, well, I'll let the president talk about this.
Okay. So basically, a constitution outlines every role in detail and what you are kind of signing up to do. For example, the president, it kind of tells me all the areas of my role which I need to be on it with. And there's a lot because I'm the president. I'm basically, in everybody's jobs and helping everybody. But it kind of outlines what you've got to do. And basically, it's just a guideline to help to keep the society running and so people know what they're getting into. As well as that, the Constitution also outlines fairness in audition processes, what happens if bullying happens or any situation. And I added something specifically to the Constitution because I'm very passionate about it. Any instance of homophobia, racism, even regardless of how small, or transphobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, regardless of how small, like, we have a zero tolerance policy. You will get kicked out because I think that's a good step forward into starting to combat it. And
I would agree.
We can't do a lot, but it just won't happen within our society, and it's on our page as well. It's a zero tolerance policy,
Yeah.
So the Constitution basically outlines everything, and it's there to keep the members safe and make sure the committee isn't doing anything shady, basically.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you for outlining that, because honestly, before coming to the role that I currently have, I had no idea. I think there isn't actually a lot of, and I think this is something that, the SU almost certainly won't be listening to this, but if by some miracle they are, I think something that could be really, really amazing, that would be something that teaches specifically freshers, but also, if like available to anyone, but specifically for freshers, to understand how a society works and how to make one, how to run one. Just because I think I am very lucky to have had, obviously, you as a predecessor who was willing to help me to understand my role, having the last year social sec, Sophie Barton, who was also really helpful in helping me understand my role, and the current committee who helped me out when I took over. But especially for a role like president, there isn't a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong here, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of kind of help out there for that, especially if it's for a new society.
Yeah. It was pretty hard to set up MPA. I'm not gonna,
Yeah.
When I present, and I had to collect a lot, and I didn't realize how much I'd have to collect. I kind of went into it thinking, right, I'm gonna do this, And I ended up doing this. I'm kind of glad that I didn't know everything I had to do, or else it might have dissuaded me.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I did it still. But yeah, the support for the presidents, if I kind of didn't come in as a social secretary, I would find it very hard to jump into it and know what was going on, because I didn't know the protocols. I didn't know how to chair meetings at the time. I didn't know how to make an agenda. I didn't know about minuting. Sorry, Mr. Theo. But, you know, knew about nothing. And
Yeah.
I guess if you're going to start a society, ask someone the proceedings of a society, how a meeting is going. Again, I'm more than happy. Like, please ask me, I will help you.
Ask and
but yeah.
read seems to be the kind of the big things that you have to do before starting a society. But
Yeah.
also you have to, I think, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I am speaking from a place of
No,
absolute
of course.
a thing you need when creating a society is very much an idea of the responsibility you're taking on. Like, you can't just create a society, then not be willing to like president it.
Yes. Oh my
Or,
God.
like, run
yes.
away from it.
No, you can't.
So if you're going to create something, you need to have the kind of willpower to be able to, or the support network to be able to hold you up to continue to do that, which is obviously what a committee is for, essentially.
Obviously. I will say this though, right? Do not rely on a committee to do your jobs for you. You have to be their leader. And the best leader is someone who is helping their members rather than just telling them what to do and barking orders at them. You have to be willing to help your committee rather than just giving them orders and putting all the weight onto them. Because if I did that to the committee, it would just be unfair on them. It's not their job. If they do want to help me with some extra things, I'm so grateful, and they usually do, because they're wonderful. But I would never expect them to do that. And if I am having kind of a bad time, I will communicate that with them, and then they will help me. But you have to be willing to take on that responsibility. You can do it. You just have to be aware that it is a big responsibility. And also with like being president, you kind of, this might sound a bit, you know, I don't mean to be full of myself at all whatsoever. Ew. But but basically, a power president like acts and holds himself is reflected within the members of a society. And, you know, same with the social sec as well. That's, I say a social sec is like kind of like the heart of a society and how it will act and how it will interact with each other. Like, we help foster a community. So you have to have, if you're not positive, if you're not present, if you're, you know, cold, informal, your society's community is going to be very scattered. Yeah. And don't mean I'm patting myself on the back here, let's be real. I think I've created a pretty good community, hopefully.
I mean, I think that's a fair comment to make. I don't think that's being overly being proud of something that you've created. I would argue that's not necessarily narcissistic in any sense. I think that's absolutely fair enough. You mentioned about the society and the plans you have for it, but is there anything specifically in the future that we should be looking forward to in terms of your society and what you're planning to do with it?
Oh, totally. So coming up, we may or may not be planning a few collaborations, so keep an eye out for that. So, and there's obviously a big hint to who it is. Like, there's a big hint.
Don't know what you're on about.
I don't know. We are going to conduct an MPA Snatch game. So if you've not heard of Snatch game, basically, have you ever heard the game of fill in the blank, where the celebrities kind of have a card, there's a sentence, and it goes like, for example, Kanye West is so narcissistic that his blank blew up. And then you have to put the funniest answer in. And basically, Snatch game is where people like impersonate celebrities, and it's just really funny. It's like caricatures of celebrities, and it's so funny. We're also doing a murder mystery in the future. We're doing so many fun things. What was I gonna say? But and also when I was talking about a surrealism kind of tutorial, I'm doing one I think next week as well.
Oh, so that's exciting.
yeah, please look out for that. So there's a lot of fun, exciting things going on with MPA. And also, can I just say as well, we're a community-based society. Obviously, I keep saying it, but our members are really important to us, and their feedback matters. So a well-being and also, you know, how they think the society is going will be coming out. So please look out for the well-being form and the feedback form, because we want to continuously do better. And how can we do better if we don't get feedback from our community?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I think Shakespeare have very recently done the exact same the exact same thing, and it is important to hear from your I was going to say constituents. That's not the word. Members. We are not a political party. So we have a recurring segment on the podcast where I ask you. You've been in things. You've been in plays. Yeah. You've been in plays.
Yeah.
Which one has been your favourite?
Okay.
Out of like this is in university and out of university together.
Out of university. Well, to drama school, and I studied musical theatre for 2 years in kind of an audition-based drama school. And I was a principal dancer in Jesus Christ Superstar. And listen, the stage was shaped like a cross.
Right.
And there was TVs in the back. There was projections over the top. It was amazing.
That sounds incredible.
It was absolutely amazing. I had so much fun, and it really kind of upped my confidence as, you know, a dancer and stuff like that. It really, you know, made me feel alive. I've absolutely loved Iphigenia because my main disciplines are singing, acting, and dancing, but I also write poetry and I also like do other things. But it was so good to get back to, like, you know, acting in a sense when I hadn't done it in quite a while in a performance.
Yeah.
I mean, I did Supercar, but that was more slapstick and it was really fun to do, don't get me wrong, but Iphigenia was a bit more serious, so it was really, really enjoyable. But I loved Supercar. It was fantastic. It was great. But one of my favourites as well was 5 Women Wearing the Same Dress. I was costume designer, and oh my god, like me and Karen and
genuinely,
a lot of, like,
I think my favourite thing that I've seen on campus, or like, and that including my own show. I couldn't agree more. That was one hell of a show.
On campus, like, even though I wasn't even in it, it was just such an enjoyable performance, and it was just a dichotomy of these women and like almost like a microcosm of the ideals at the time, and it was just fantastic. And I think it's like a lot of people did argue that it shouldn't have been on at times, and they were like, oh, because it's sexist, but here's the thing, it's not like we were praising that behavior within the performance. There was trigger warnings for all of what was going on, and as well as that, if we don't perform theatre that kind of looks at these issues, how can we do better? And, you know, with a modern lens as well, when you're looking at it, the fact that it's so horrific just makes it clearer that it's behaviour that we shouldn't be, you are now reproducing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think if you're, obviously art doesn't exist in a vacuum.
No.
And if you're going to make something that has a commentary like 5 Women Wearing the Same Dress, where there is where there are themes that are problematic, it's not about not putting on plays like that. It's about looking at plays like that and going, okay, this is wrong. Because if you don't address that behavior at all, then isn't that allowing it to almost grow? It's allowing it to grow in silence rather than looking at it and going, okay, this is wrong. Which is what I think 5 Women Wearing the Same Dress did really well. Is it looked at this behavior and it just went, yeah, maybe this isn't okay.
Because at the end of the day, this stuff happened.
Yeah.
And you see a lot of people, I see a lot of misogynists like on the internet telling me that nothing has happened to women, that I have equal rights. In fact, I have more rights than a man, I'm told. And, you know, as well, being a queer woman, people tell me that as well. But the thing is, plays like this are so important because it helps us reflect and remember how it was and how it still is at times. And And I hope it makes people reflect upon their own actions and maybe their own microaggressions or what they've said and do better, because I think theatre itself is inherently didactic. So it's a tool for learning. I mean, bringing it back to MPA as well, that's why I have lectures. I think it's so important to continue to teach and to learn through the arts. I think it's one of the most powerful tools.
I completely agree. I think it's very interesting thinking about like looking at the arts and going like, if I think the people who some of the worst actresses and directors that I've not actresses specifically, actors, actresses, or directors,
Yeah, of course.
who I've worked with are the people that go, okay, I know everything about this topic.
Yes.
The people who accept that they still need to grow more. I mean, like I am not a drama student. I've mentioned this before.
I still can't believe that, mate.
That I have. Well, I appreciate that. I think.
No, it is.
And I appreciate that, especially during the show I directed last year, Love Labours. I was teaching like actioning and love and efforts and and Chekhov's quality of movement and stuff like that to third-year drama students who were like, we know this better than you do, but we're still going to go through the motions here because some people in the room don't, and because also like relearning something that you already know, who knows, you might find out something that you didn't know about.
Totally.
And it's some of the best creatives that I've ever worked with, who have done those things and just kind of got. Eleanor Rutter is one who I will specifically shout out from Love Labours, who literally came up to me afterwards and went, I never thought about this way, and I realized how little I enjoy this form of theatre, but also how I didn't know that before. And I was
it's
okay,
interesting.
Well, that's good. That is growth, even if it isn't the preferred way of approaching something, but that is growth. And it's that attitude of like, I'm just going to do it.
Exactly.
I might learn something.
Yes, I would say this to anybody as well, like kind of coming into a president role or a position of power. You never stop learning, and never get into the position that you are better than the people you are directing or the people you are leading, because that's basically going to be a slippery slope.
Yeah.
You are constantly learning. There's always something you can learn, and if you've already learned said thing, go over it again. You'll know it better by the time you've done it again. If you were, I'm a movement director, but I would love to see how you teach Laban's efforts and stuff like that. It's probably a vastly different way to how I view Laban's efforts, because I did it in the context of like dance in my training and stuff like that.
Yeah, because I am very much not a dance person. Really? It's like watching a hippo on acid. And I can say that because I'm a zoology student.
I'm a zoologist.
So but it is like dance, for instance, is one of the things that I am aware I need to learn a lot about. And even something In Your Dreams, which is a show that I was a part of recently, I think I was aware of how much there is to learn about that, working with some of the creatives on that and how they were approaching the kind of movement and dance side of things. Anyway, the next section, so the news section of the podcast, I want to talk to you about normally we do news in kind of the general world of theatre, but because there isn't a ton of that at the moment with the whole lockdown that's going on, I want to talk to you about some of the very exciting plays that we have going on campus this term. And I want to, so obviously, quick kind of round off of everything that's going on. As far as my knowledge reaches, I apologize if I miss anything, but this is what has been announced as of the recording of this episode. So we have Hamlet from Shakespeare Society. We have MTS doing Fame. We have Savoy doing Iolanthe, and Drama Sock are doing, I think it's The Little Prince.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So are there any of those that particularly have spoken to you, or not as in the creatives have spoken to you? I mean, are there any of those that particularly speak to you on a spiritual level, and have attracted you to doing them?
Hamlet is my favourite Shakespeare play. So I'm definitely going to be auditioning for that 1000%. I love Hamlet, and I know it's a basic pick, but listen, I'm an English student and I'm allowed to have a basic pick. I know the Shakespeare plays. I've studied them for literally up until last year, since year 9. I'm a third year, by the way. So please let me have that. I think of just because of the vast different amount of interpretations, I kind of, anyway. I'm
Very good.
really also interested. I'm also interested in The Little Prince. I'm really excited about that. And I don't know too much about Savoy's one, but it seems super interesting. And I'm also interested in Fame. They all seem great. And one thing I will add as well, we are coming out with how to submit things for a digital exhibition soon, which will be premiering at the end of the spring term. So please keep an eye out for that. You'll have a week to kind of give in what you have to say in a proposal, and then we'll help you work on it. So please be excited about that as well.
That's amazing. Yeah. So please submit things. That, in fact, by the time that this episode comes out, that will probably already be out. So yeah, please look that up and submit things to MPA.
Don't be shy.
Don't be shy. Don't be shy. So you mentioned Hamlet, obviously being your favorite play.
Yeah.
Out of morbid curiosity, who's your favorite character in it? Because obviously you did play in the D&D event that we ran last term. You did play Hamlet.
My God.
You did play Hamlet in that.
I loved it. Like, I don't know when the D&D episodes will be up because they're a lot to edit. But hopefully, oh my God.
Relatively soon. But
fingers crossed. But oh my God. First of all, I just want to say that is probably one of the most fun I've had in ages. If Shakespeare do another D&D event, I highly recommend signing up. I've never played D&D before, and oh my God, I had a blast. In fact, you're like,
I'm really
that
glad.
that kind of event is like a real inspiration to us at MPA, because it like nobody's ever done that before, and it was just in terms of like just as a not outside of a D&D society.
Yeah.
But I just kind of saw that, and I was like, heck, like this is so different. This is so fun. And we really want to put on events like that.
I'm really glad that it had that impact on you, to be honest with you, because that was a bit of a what do you call it? A curveball in terms of the events that we were coming up with.
But I think it was just it was a beautiful curveball. It was breaking the mold, and I think us as kind of people who are on the committee and on societies, if we don't want to continue reshaping what our societies are about, then why are we on committee? If we want to play it safe, why are you on committee? Is it for the role?
I completely agree.
Reshape the society into something new, into something fresh, into something enjoyable. Now, my favourite character from Hamlet. I love Hamlet, but I also really love Ophelia. Ophelia is most certainly my favourite character. And it's not because of like, oh, she has agency, because no, she doesn't. She doesn't have any agency. Bless her sweet heart. But I just think she's a really, really interesting character study, especially within her madness. And I also think it's a really interesting commentary on, the kind of commodification and objectification of women, because especially within Gertrude's speech, when she's kind of making out this beautiful image of her drowning peacefully and gorgeously. So then even in her death, she had to appear aesthetically pleasing for the eyes of men, really.
I think I actually think this links perfectly into what we were discussing about 5 women wearing the same dress.
Yeah.
In that it's like, this obviously is a extremely problematic way of depicting women.
Yeah.
Specifically. And by the way, I said this in my episode with James. I am fully aware I am a cisgendered white straight guy. But probably don't have the most amount of authority speaking on anything about this, but this is the yeah. So do correct me if I'm wrong at all
No, of
here.
course.
But yeah, like it is important to, I think, to approach things like this and go like, you see how this person was treated?
Mhm.
This is wrong. This is wrong,
Yes.
by the way.
It should be a tragic aspect rather than something that's celebrated. It should be like, it can not, the script is there and it's there, but the different ways you can portray things and make it seem, as we're talking about, performance is on a spectrum, and you can create elements that are to show that that's bad. It doesn't have to just be through the script. There's literally so much you can do. And
interpretation is so much a part of directing.
Yeah, definitely.
If you don't approach a play with any kind of interpretation, that's kind of like trying to run a race without shoes on. Like you're not going to have a lot of that support and spring to create something that's actually kind of potent.
Yeah, I would say, like, with directing, you shouldn't don't go into your directing things without an idea. I just want to put it on just because, come on then, I'll put it on. Have a vision, like your actors are going to come in with visions for their characters and stuff like that. So, that's my kind of little tip for a director. I know a little bit less about directing. Please correct me if I'm wrong. You know more about this than me, Mr. Jack Hardman.
Thank you.
But of course,
incredibly wrong. I know almost nothing, but thank you.
But that's the point. You can. Everybody, I think, has a different thing they can bring to the table in terms of directing, and as long as you are willing to listen, as long as you are willing to learn, you'll be a good director.
I agree. I think that goes with any kind of creative role, though. I
1000%.
think the ability to, as we were talking about earlier, learn and roll with it and kind of take in information. Because I think I learned quite a lot in a play I directed, a Shakespeare play actually, a version of The Merchant of Venice when I was 18. I directed a version of The Merchant of Venice, and I learned so much from the actress playing Portia. Portia, right? Not Portia.
Yeah.
I learned so much from her because she was an incredibly seasoned actor, and I wouldn't have learned I wouldn't have been anywhere near as good a director if I wasn't kind of checking in on her and what she was thinking about things.
And it's really important. Art is a continuous learning process. Everything is, really. And I also want to say about you being a white man. Here's the thing, Mr. Jack Hardman. If you facilitate our voices and don't speak over us, that's fine. You don't speak over us. You facilitate, and using your privilege to facilitate, queer and female POC voices, or the voices of minorities. If you are facilitating it and not talking over and fighting for us, it's not something that's wrong, in my opinion, speaking as a queer woman.
Fair. Thank you. Well, that's good. I'm glad I'm not in the wrong there then.
You are not, you are not.
Okay, so I think I might say that we will end it on that note then.
Okay, cool.
On that slightly wholesome note. We do this every episode. What is your favorite Shakespeare play?
My favorite Shakespeare play is Hamlet.
Yes.
If you didn't already know.
No, we already said that, but I have to do it because I do it every episode.
Of course.
So I'd like to say, everyone go and check out MPA and their fantastic events that they've got coming up. I certainly will. And I think it would be a great opportunity for everyone out there. And have a wonderful time, everyone. Thank you for joining me this week for Bard Times. This has been Jack Hardman. Stay safe, and in the words of the Bard himself, it is not in the stars to hold our destiny, but in ourselves. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.